The year is 452. The most powerful army in the known world marches toward Rome. The emperor hides in a swamp fortress. The Roman legions are nowhere, right? And the one person who rides out to meet Attila the Hun is a 61-year-old bishop. No army, no weapons, no official political authority. Why would a religious leader do the emperor's job? And why did it work? To understand why a pope met Attila, we need to understand what made the Huns different from every other threat Rome faced. The Germanic tribes, Goths, Vandals, Franks, wanted land. They wanted to settle inside the empire, farm, and eventually rule. Rome could negotiate with them, right? Give them territory, make them allies, absorb them. The Huns wanted none of that, and they were genuinely nomadic. Their economy ran on plunder, not production. They didn't care if they destroyed the regions they raided. You can't negotiate with someone who has no interest in what you're protecting. This made them uniquely dangerous. In the 450s, the Huns united under Attila's charismatic leadership. Charismatic leadership means authority based on personal qualities rather than inherited office. When Attila died, his empire died with him. The Eastern Roman Empire, based in Constantinople, defeated the Huns and stopped paying tribute. Tribute was essentially protection money. Pay us and we won't attack. When Constantinople proved too tough, Attila turned west. The Western Empire was not as rich, but much easier pickings. And this deflection pattern, the East pushing problems toward the weaker West, would repeat throughout late antiquity, and the West became a dumping ground for threats the East could handle. In 450, the Huns appeared in Gaul. A combined force of Visigoths and Romans defeated them at the Battle of the Catalonian Plains. Notice, Rome needed barbarian allies to defend itself. The next year, the Huns invaded Italy directly, sacking cities in the northeast. And here's the devastating truth: there was no Roman army to stop them. Emperor Valentinian III retreated to Ravenna, a city chosen specifically because marshes surrounded it, making attack difficult. The Emperor of Rome was hiding in a swamp. So the emperor hid, but someone had to act. Pope Leo then traveled to northern Italy in 453 to negotiate directly with Attila. We don't know exactly what he said or promised. The meeting became moot when Attila died of a brain hemorrhage shortly after. Without his charismatic leadership, the Hunnic Confederation disintegrated within a year. But here's what matters. The Pope was performing imperial responsibilities. The person with no official political power acted. The person with all official power hid. This wasn't a one-time emergency. It was the beginning of a pattern that would reshape European civilization. Leo's story happened at the top. But what did collapse look like for ordinary people? A saint's biography from Noricum, modern Austria, shows us. The author wrote, "The soldiers of many towns were supported by public money to guard the frontier. When this arrangement ceased, the military formations were dissolved and the frontier vanished." Read that again. The frontier vanished, not conquered, not overrun in battle. The paychecks stopped, so the soldiers went home. The Roman Empire didn't fall to barbarian swords. It fell to missed payroll. At Passau, the garrison held out, waiting for their last payment. They sent soldiers to Italy to collect their wages. Those soldiers were never heard from again, killed by barbarians somewhere along the road. A local holy man named Severinus was reading in his cell when he suddenly closed his book. He told his followers the river was now red with blood. Days later, news arrived. The soldiers' bodies had washed ashore downstream. The empire ended not with a dramatic last stand, but with a paycheck that never arrived. Let's set in lane. Here's what's remarkable about Severinus. He had chosen the contemplative life, prayer, isolation, spiritual focus. He didn't want to run anything. But when the state vanished, he stepped out of his cell and into leadership. He organized poor relief programs. He negotiated with the Alemanni king. He helped redirect a young warlord named Odovacar into Italy, the same Odovacar who would later depose the last Western emperor. Severinus wasn't unique. Across the collapsing West, religious figures who had chosen isolation were forced to become community leaders, not because they wanted power, but because someone had to show up. The church filled a vacuum. Look at what the Roman state used to provide: military defense, diplomacy with foreign powers, tax collection for public welfare, dispute resolution between citizens. When those systems collapsed, the church stepped into each role. Bishops negotiated with barbarian kings, monasteries ran poor relief, church courts settled disputes, parish records replaced imperial census data. None of this was the church's original purpose. These were secular functions, but religious institutions were the only ones still standing, still organized, still trusted. Someone had to govern. The church was there. This created something unique to Western Europe. Religious and political authority intertwined but distinct. In the Eastern Empire, the emperor controlled the church. In the West, the church operated independently, sometimes cooperating with kings, sometimes opposing them. Pope Leo VI earned the title the Great partly from this moment. The precedent of popes negotiating with barbarian kings would continue for centuries. When new kingdoms eventually stabilized, they found the church already embedded in governance. Power isn't just about armies and laws, it's about who shows up when things fall apart. The church's political power in medieval Europe wasn't a power grab, it was filling a vacuum no one else would fill. Bishops became diplomats because emperors hid, monks became administrators because bureaucrats fled, religious communities became welfare systems because the state abandoned its people. The church didn't conquer the Roman Empire. It inherited the responsibilities Rome dropped. The next time you wonder why medieval Europe looked so different from the Roman Empire it replaced, remember this moment: a bishop riding out to meet a warlord because no one else would.